I've been browsing, treading water that they drowning. My head on the swivel, yeah. It's only really my surroundings.
Hello and welcome to episode 4 of Smash or Pass, your premium Dynasty market value show, part of the Smash Accept network of podcasts. I'm your host, Michael Royer. You can find me on Twitter at Dynasty_DadFF. I forgot my handle there. Fantasy Nerd Boy. You know, we started throwing your it's been a while, man. We haven't had a chance to chop it up. Super excited. You know, we missed a week and it almost felt like longer than that. But I'm excited. There's so many trades. Super Bowl's over and my inbox is just flooded with trades. I'm excited to chop it up with you tonight here.
Yeah, I'm pumped to be back. Last week was a little tough. My dad's been dealing with an illness and he gave us a little scare, and you know, he's doing a lot better now, and he's coming around and he's stable. He's a big fantasy guy. He's a big supporter of me in general. So I want to, give him a shout out and say, I love you, Pops. He's doing great. He definitely listens every chance he gets. So I'm glad to be back. I'm excited for the show tonight.
That's awesome. And like I said, he's been in our prayers, and, we're a close knit community here when it comes to Smash Accept. So, I'm glad you shared that. Mung! Here we are, man. We're just ready to chop up trades like you and I started this entire thing. Episode 127 of Smash Total, Smash or Pass number 4, ready to just talk some trades.
Yeah, I mean, that really is kind of the meat that we really kicked off the podcast with, and we always love talking trades. I think that's the best gauge of how you currently value a player is when you actually get a trade offer, right? Mm-hmm. Because we know that player values can change so quickly, whether it's signing with a team in free agency, whether it's an injury or any other scenario that can quickly either tank or increase a player's value. So, yeah, glad to talk trades. Glad Nerd Boy's dad is doing better. And, let's get to it.
Yeah, and I know we when we started Smash Accept, it was all about trades and covering trades and different angles of trades. And then, when Nerd Boy and I started up Smash or Pass, it's more of the values and try to things. And I'm just excited to kind of blend them all. Super excited also that the Patreon has finally officially launched. It wasn't the ghetto little thing on Twitter. Now we have, multiple different tiers and packages, from just $3 a month to be in the Discord and have access to Nerd Boy, Mung, myself, John, and be part of that community. Up all the way up to, $10 a month where you have strategy sessions with some of us every quarter and get our rankings and all these different things. So if you guys want to be a part of that community, like I always said, when we started it on Twitter, it was, your girlfriend, your coworkers, your friends, they're tired of hearing about your fantasy teams. We love breaking it down, and there's just a group of guys in there that are the same. We're all just trying to make each other better. So if you guys want to be a part of that community, hit us up, and our Patreon is officially loaded, so we can hook you guys up from there. So let's jump right in, our questions, and we're soon going to be launching Smash 8, and I know that's crazy, but the guys that are in Smash 1 through 7, they're like, let's get in another one. We're giving it to the guys in the Patreon first, and one of those guys sent in the first trade. That's Jason Aguirre. So on this side, and I want both you guys that we'll start breaking things down here. It looks like 12-team Superflex. This one's a little bit deep. He ends up getting Drake London, a 24 first, 212, and a 24 third. For James Conner, A.J. Brown, a 24 second, and we'll say JaMychal Hasty for some reason he's thrown in that deal. But we're going to start with you, Nerd Boy. Let's break this one down a little bit. I mean, there's some, you and I and Mung, all three of us absolutely love Drake London, but you got A.J. Brown on the other side. Break this trade down for me and let me know which side you like.
Yeah, so we're talking London 112, and what were the picks? It was two.
Well, it's London 212, 24 third, and a 24 first.
Okay.
And then the other side's Connor, JaMychal Hasty, A.J. Brown, and a 24 second.
I like the hasty move there, nice throw in. I think London and a 24 first is a smash for AJ Brown right now. I'm really high on the 24 class, and I think that's really good to insulate that trade a little bit. And like I said on the last Smasher Pass, that I'm big on London too, and I don't mind that trade at all. As far as the AJ Brown London, Connor, I think definitely holds some decent value. He's one of the guys that I would probably buy on the cheap, just because I think Arizona is going to try to stretch out another year of just Connor in that backfield.
Yeah.
Doing much in that backfield. They could surprise me, but I think Connor is going to be big value where he's going in startups and what he's actually going to cost in a trade. But I think it's close.
I think it all really stems down on what that 24 first looks like. If that's a late 24 first, then I think the A.J. Brown side wins just by a slight pick. But if that's mid or better, I think that side is only going to appreciate. James Conner, by the time we get into the season, he's going to only continue to depreciate once we get later on in the season. I think, you look at 212 and 24 second, let's negate those. So, Mung, if you got to look at it, just breaking down James Conner and A.J. Brown, or London a 24 first and a 24 third, how does that look for you? Because, A.J. Brown is that alpha, 25 years old. London looks to be on the cusp of a breakout here.
Right, and I think it's definitely a pretty close trade overall, pretty fair for both sides here. For me, it just comes down to I would rather have A.J. Brown in the second slightly over London in the first. Right now, I think, again, it's very close in value, but one thing that kind of swings it for me is A.J. Brown's value is extremely high right now. So if you are selling, I do think you could get a little bit more. And on top of that, I do think the Eagles, who led in the majority of their games in the second half this past season, could need to throw a little bit more. So I do lean the Brown side slightly here.
Mike, if I'm coming to you right now and I have AJ Brown, right? Or you have AJ Brown and I'm coming to you. What do I need to add on top of London to get AJ Brown or vice versa there? What pick in 23? So this is a random 24 first. So would you do a random 24 first in London for Brown? And if we're talking 23 class, what's the divider there? I know a lot of people. Personally, I'd be insulating from A.J. Brown down to London. But either way, whichever way we want to go, what kind of trade are you looking for?
Yeah, so I think A.J. Brown is about 102 in this class. I'm not going to put him above Bijan. And then I think we discussed earlier that we have London at the 5 range, give or take. So you're talking 105 to 102. And that could vary based on builds. I think the 24 firsts can easily jump you into the 102 from the 105, depending on what that team needs and exactly what direction they're going in. It's tough to say without context because that 104 could be Caleb Williams or it could be a Drake May or that could just be. I have those guys above the 101 in this class. So for context,
you have AJ Brown. I say, hey man, Drake London in a 24 first, smash or pass.
If I'm competing, I want AJ Brown. If I'm going for it this year, I still want AJ Brown because although I'm high on London, just like Monk said, it's AJ Brown's proven and he's in an offense that's going to hum this year, and we don't really know what's going to happen with Atlanta this year. I have no idea if Ritter's the guy, if they're going to make moves, if Arthur Smith is going to do anything to actually show the people and show that their investments are worthwhile to get them going in that offense and to get that humming, just like the Eagles are doing right now. So I'll definitely take AJ Brown if I'm going for it. I'll take the 24 first in London if I think I'm sitting out this year and I'm building for the future. So
very directional. I got that. Next one sent in from our boy V Pizzle. Happy birthday, by the way. It is his birthday. If you guys saw any of the ranking graphics that came out, he did those. I know he does a bunch of Nerd Boys as well. Awesome guy. He's in that Patreon Discord. He sent a couple in, but the one I want to talk about here, Mung, is we're looking at AJ Brown and a 24-4 or Stephon Diggs in a 24 second. So this is kind of an interesting one. He said right now he's not. It's one of the top teams, but it's not an absolute dominant team.
Sorry, give me that one more time.
Stephon Diggs, 24 second, or Amon-Ra St. Brown in a 24-4.
Well, first off, when you guys send in trades, you really don't need to include the fourths and anything beyond those. I understand getting that little extra on top to maybe swing a trade,
and that's a sweetener. That's it.
Do that, right? Yeah. Definitely, but in the grand scheme of things, when we're evaluating trades, I don't know that really swings it a whole lot, one way or the other. That one's tough. I think it really depends on whether you're competing or whether you're looking to retool a little bit here, because Diggs is getting up there. Again, he's not the kind of receiver that necessarily relies on speed, so I'm not too worried about him. He's more in that Keenan Allen type mold, right, where I'm not too worried about him even in his early 30s. So I would lean slightly Diggs in the second here, but again, another pretty close one overall.
I'm going to go with on this one, and then I'm going to kick it over to Mike. Personally, if I can give a 24-second, I talk about this a lot. If I got a guy like Stephon Diggs who's 28, turning 29 years old, if I can add a 24-second to get 6 years younger and move up, right now I got Diggs as my wide receiver 11, Amon-Ra as my wide receiver 6, and Amon-Ra had better production this year, so I'm always willing to use that almost to buy some extra years is kind of how I look at a deal like this, right? Like I'm giving that a kind of almost reverse insulation. I'm paying that to make sure I get a little bit younger.
Yeah, I agree. I think I would take him on over Diggs. I have a lot of context actually with this trade though, because it's one of my leagues, and I know V Pizzle didn't mention this, but it is a Devy league, and in a Devy league, those picks are depleted significantly. You have to think of a second as like a fourth in a traditional dynasty league, and then a fourth as nothing. It's like absolutely nothing.
Yeah,
you get about a 6th rounder if you want to go that deep into the actual rookie draft. But I will take him on because of what you mentioned. Without context, I still would lean that way because of the years that he's going to have, even though Diggs is attached to one of the best, quarterbacks in the league right now. And I think that is going to just keep his value at a steady pace. But like anybody at that age, I think he's 30 or 29 right now. He's going to slow down. He's going to hit that wall, and Amon's going to keep it going for another at least 5 years. So I'll have to side with Amon on that.
While we're on Amon-Ra St. Brown, another guy, Sam Eichenlaub, hope I pronounced that right. Now, this is a little bit more of, he gave up Jerry Jeudy in the 202. Jerry Jeudy, obviously with Russell Wilson news and Sean Payton, and he was really cooking there. The final 3 weeks of the season, wide receiver 3, wide receiver 10, wide receiver 27. So, I mean, he was really starting to get some chemistry going there when he was healthy, and Hackett was out of the way. Mike, if he's coming to you here, we're looking at, do you want 202 and Jeudy, or you want Amon-Ra St. Brown? I think Jeudy probably falls somewhere in that, 18 to 24 range, the wide receiver 2. I feel like that 202 is just a fire area of the draft, but is it enough to sway you to move Amon-Ra St. Brown?
Yeah, I'm a big Jeudy guy, actually, so I do love Jeudy. So even with that in mind, I think I still take St. Brown there. I think you might see some similar production, and I think I would still take St. Brown because of the value that he holds right now.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily about the production for me, because there's a lot of time left before the season starts, and you could take him and flip him for 2 firsts. You could do what you want with him. So I think I would take the better asset at this moment, but that's not to say that I don't think Jeudy, I think he can be a big riser this year.
Jeudy is that perfect guy that we're going to try to make an insulated trade for right now.
Yeah,
I did that.
He's my favorite
absolutely.
Buy.
I put it in my, my Valentine's Day, the guys that I love that I'm trying to buy. And Jeudy was that one, he was one of those wide receivers. after Wilson on the buy high, for me, it's Jerry Jeudy. And I feel like you can absolutely dominate some insulated trades here. If this was 106, I'm in. I feel like there you're getting 2 firsts. I think Jeudy has risen up in value to a point where he's worth a late 23 first. But I feel like Amon-Ra St. Brown is at least a mid and a late. You're almost still getting 2 for him. Mung, anything to chime in on that one? I mean, John and I did a podcast on the second round picks, and that hot zone, that 112 to 204 range, it's very fluid on how it's moving. The 202 looks like it's going to be a nice piece. Maybe Josh Downs, maybe, some of these running backs that might fall in there, maybe a Tank Bigsby. Where are you at on this one? I know we've kind of really come full circle with Amon-Ra St. Brown. Are you willing to give him up for Jeudy in the 202?
I'm with you guys on this one. I would lean Amon-Ra St. Brown here as well. Again, as you said, some nice, interesting pieces potentially still available there at 202, but it's too low of a pick for me to bridge the gap there.
202 is perfect to lead in, because then another guy from the Patreon, it's at CCIPPPP. I'm just going to go I'm not even sure how to go with that, but he made an absolute smash accept, and there's no debating on this one. He got the 202 for Ezekiel Elliott. And I feel like that is a move right now where in that 202 range, like I said Tanks Bigsby. I've seen Sean Tucker go in that area. Mike, I know you've been doing a ton of mock drafts, and based off what we did last week, I mean, with those running backs, this is an area where it feels like almost getting a first round type value for Ezekiel Elliott, and we're way past that.
I have no idea how he did this or who did this with him.
And then he made another one with the same guy. He got a 24 first for Joe Mixon too. So I'm like, he sent 2 of them in there, and I was like, hey, ring the bell, man. Like, you are taking care of business moving off these running backs.
Yeah, I mean, you got to block that name out because everyone's going to be shooting trades over to him after this. But I mean, that's great because there is a ton of value. And I think I've made this comparison before where you're looking at 2020, when all that crazy value got pushed back, and there's possibly 4 quarterbacks just like 2020 that are going to go in the first round. So then that's, we didn't see that last year. We saw all the wide receivers and the 2 running backs, and that was the whole first round, no quarterback to push anything back. Whereas here we're going to see everything getting pushed back to, the early second, mid second, even late second is going to be crazy, which is great. And if you can get an aging running back for, possibly a cornerstone piece for your fantasy team, that's an amazing smash right there.
Yeah, move up to that 112 to 204 range. I mean, honestly, you're talking about those 4 quarterbacks. John and I did our podcast on the second round. I mean, that we were going off of Garrett Price's mock that he did, and he had Bigsby going to Buffalo, Tucker going to Cincinnati, Spears going to Miami. Like, there's going to be running backs that are just pushed up into that area, and like guys like Boutte and Downs, and I mean, there's going to be some serious value, and I'm really advocating for people to move up from that late second to that mid to early second, or even moving, after you get past 5, maybe moving back from like 6 to that 202 area. He did send in another trade, and this one, Mung, this one's exciting. So this is one. Side 1 is Justin Herbert, 12-team super flex. Side 1 is just Justin Herbert. Side 2, Deshaun Watson, A.J. Dillon, a 24 first, and then there's the 409 and 307, but we're going to get those out of the way because, we've already established that. So A.J. Dillon, Deshaun Watson, and a 24 first for Justin Herbert.
Yeah, I would take the package here. I think the gap between Herbert and Watson is less than a first, and getting A.J. Dillon on top, regardless of what you think is going to happen with Aaron Rodgers and Green Bay and Aaron Jones going forward, I think the value is definitely on the package side here.
Okay. I have Herbert as kind of a bounce back for this year. He's my QB5. Watson's, I have his QB10. So it really depends to me where that 24 first is, and A.J. Dillon's a nice little piece to add in there. Mike, if you're assessing this deal, you taking the Watson 24 first and Dillon, or are you taking Justin Herbert?
I think I would take the Watson side, although I agree that I think Herbert's going to, come back to life and definitely rise up a little bit. But I think the same could be said about Watson. I think that he's gonna rise too. So I think they're both gonna rise together. So that gap will probably stay the same as far as where they are right now. And I think even with that, like Monk said, that there's probably not a 24 first between them.
Yeah.
But yeah, two guys that I really love for next year that are pretty good buys given their down years.
And this is one where I think because of the time of year where you can really win. I mean, personally, right now I have Herbert as a first over Watson, but I feel like as the offseason goes by and as we start to get some buzz and there's more weapons, going into Cleveland and we start to get, a couple, even once we get a couple good games from Watson, I believe he shakes that rust off, and this is a way where you can make that insulated trade now, and then use that 24 first for something later, once Watson starts popping off a little bit. Now, sticking with the quarterbacks, this trade here blows my mind. Mung, you and I both commented on Twitter, so I want to start with Mike. This is a big boy deal. Like, this is sent in from @trade_Dino. That's Dino Trade. Patrick Mahomes and Justin Jefferson is on side one, Mike. I mean, when you're talking this, you know that side two is going to be juicy. Side two is Trevor Lawrence, the 101 and the 104. Twitter right now has it at 51-49, so they have this thing really close. But you're looking at Patrick Mahomes and Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, it's Mahomes and Jefferson. Hands down.
I'm blown away. It's that close. I mean, Mahomes is winning 51-49.
Yeah, it should be very easily Mahomes and Justin Jefferson.
Because if I come to you today and I say, hey, man, Trevor Lawrence and the 104 for Mahomes, I'm saying no. I want Mahomes still. It's getting closer.
Much higher than the 101 for me, too. So there's nothing.
And there's a disconnect there.
Yeah.
So right now in startups, the 101 and Justin Jefferson might go one or two spots away, but they're not worth the same amount of value. Like in my estimation, because we're going to talk about a couple trades in here made Jefferson basically for Bijan and a little plus. There definitely is a disconnect between startup value at that once you get past those 7 quarterbacks of what happens between Jefferson and everything else.
So that's actually something I love to harp on, though, because you can take this startup value and you can really use it to your advantage.
Absolutely.
You can take the startup value, go into a startup with one of your buddies, and just say, okay, Bijan went one spot after Jefferson, and then go into the league that you're in with him beforehand and offer Bijan and a third for Jefferson and just say, hey, they just went back to back. Or, it's great to have that on base and then kind of use that to value, and also so sometimes you can manipulate values that way too.
And you get that you have the safety there, and I've probably advised on this like 5 or 6 now, where I've said give up a mid 23 second or a 24 second on top of Bijan and get Jefferson, and the peace of mind there is unbelievable, right? I mean, you're getting the longevity and you're getting the wide receiver 1 or 1A 1B with Chase. And it's set it and forget it, as opposed to let's see where Bijan goes. I mean, in the Garrett Price mock, he went to the Eagles, but if there's some scenarios where his value arguably is peaked right now. Like, it literally can't go anywhere. Like just Jonathan Taylor, after being the RB1 and being only 23 years old, was what, 106? At its peak. Bijan's going 109 right now. Not a lot of room to move around. Mung, if you're giving, what's the difference for you right now between Mahomes and Trevor Lawrence in rookie picks? I mean, is the 104 isn't enough? If I come to you with Trevor Lawrence and the 101 for Mahomes, would you accept that?
I think that would be close. At least, I would have to think about that one. But ultimately, I would want a little bit more on top. And I think part of the issue is Mahomes just won the Super Bowl, so his ADP is currently propped up, or not ADP because he's pretty much the 101 or 102 in Superflex, but his perceived value is just even higher right now for some, just based on the Super Bowl hype. I don't think that should actually matter because his value was already high. But in general, when you're trading a player who you could argue is in a tier of his own for both Mahomes and Jefferson, right? At that point, I think you need just really a ton of picks on top of some good prospects because, Lawrence and Bijan both have, extremely high upside. But at the same time, you have to remember that any pick can bust, right? We all love the rookies. Every single 2023 rookie right now is going to be, going to the moon, right? Is going to be amazing, going to be smashing in fantasy. And then you get to week 3 and you're like, wow, they're not even on the field, or, they're fumbling and they're getting benched, or whatever it might be. You just need more, as you would say, insulation when you're moving down from an elite dynasty asset like a Mahomes or Jefferson.
Yeah, I'm there. I mean, I think this is just the fact that this is 51-49 blows my mind. It really does, and that just go out
rookie
there.
Fever season. That's why we're getting
really
rookie fever, John.
That's beautiful. Nerd Boy, let's talk about one you did here, which I kind of like. So we talked about Drake London. Talk to me a little bit about. So you get Drake London, you give up Jamison Williams to 208. And Donovan Peoples-Jones. I know you like Peoples-Jones, and we're all pretty big on Jamison Williams, but you go in here and go after London.
Yeah, I kind of put my money where my mouth was, where I said that I would take any other wideout in this class and go for London off of them, whether it's trying to tear down from Olave or tear up from Jamison. Actually, I can't say anyone because Garrett Wilson is definitely up there. But yeah, I know Mung's not going to like it. But yeah, I added DPJ in a late second in a league where I'm pretty draft capital rich as far as owning 3 first and several seconds, and having not enough roster spots actually for the draft class and the picks that I have coming in. So it made sense in the sense that I'm going to get an elite asset in London, and then clear up some roster spots for the incoming class for me as well.
I like it a lot because I think the difference between Jamison Williams and London is like the 202, 203, and Donovan Peoples-Jones is not a guy that you're going to get a lot of assets for, but you package Peoples-Jones in the 208, that moves you into that same area, bridges the gap. I think it's a very fair trade. But Mung, Jamison Williams, 208, Donovan Peoples-Jones, or Drake London?
Yeah, I would. I don't know why Nerd Boy thinks I don't like this one, because I think that's a pretty solid move for London. Again, I think the ceiling is immensely high for Jamison Williams, but again, there are plenty of question marks still. So while I do have them fairly close in my rankings, I think a late second and Donovan Peoples-Jones isn't a whole lot to give up to get to what I think is still the better wide receiver in both real life and for fantasy, which is Drake London. So I like that move.
I like the other one that you made that you sent into is getting A.J. Brown for Devonta Smith and a 25 first. I think Devonta Smith and a 24 first, if you're kind of trying to insulate and rebuild, a 25 first, man, that is an absolute smash, except I got to congratulate you on that one. Not a lot to break down other than I love that one.
I'm not going to say it. I know he's listening too. No, I think it's fair because I know Chinox, you're listening right now, and I think I love Devonta. So I mean, hey.
Oh yeah, no, it can work both ways. The next one sent in. We already talked a little bit about Trevor Lawrence in the 101. This one sent in from @Malden_Luke. The 101 or Trevor Lawrence. Mung, they go very similar again in ADP. I don't think the value lines up quite the same, but I think both of them go in that same area. Mung, you taking the 101 or Trevor Lawrence? So you have Trevor Lawrence. I'd come to you and offer you the 101. Smash or pass?
That is a tough one. Because honestly, I think it depends on scoring settings a little bit. Points per carry, I don't think it'd be crazy.
Throw in a little context. It is a rebuild.
Yeah, I think it ultimately depends on your knowledge of the league and what you think you can get for the 101. Mm-hmm. In a rebuild, maybe the quarterback makes more sense, but at the same time, Bijan's plenty young. This one's so tough because it really comes down to what you think you'll be able to flip the 101 for come rookie draft day.
That's the key to it
when
all.
It's on the clock.
Yeah, because right now, Trevor Lawrence, it's 70-30. Like, if I'm looking at it right now, like, that's how Twitter has it. If I look at it, I want Trevor Lawrence because Trevor Lawrence is a safer value. You build, if you're in a rebuild, we talk about it all the time, you build around quarterbacks and wide receivers. However, Mike, right now, I advised the guy today to deal the 101 for the 102 and the 104. I just did my thread on Stroud. I love Stroud. I love Young. He's in a scenario now where he's potentially getting Gibbs and Stroud or Young, whoever your favorite is, for Bijan Robinson in a rebuild situation. So Mung had a great point there, because if I come to you today and say, hey man, Trevor Lawrence or the 102 and 104, I feel like is a different conversation than the 101. You see, there's like a disconnect between the ADP, between the rookie draft, and between the actual values right now that I think is really exploitable.
Yeah, you're right, because people see the 101 and they think it's more valuable than the 102 and the 104, or the 102 and the 105.
That blows my mind.
And that's not the case, because you're talking about JT for Trevor Lawrence and Swift or something. When you look at that now, what are you going to do? I think I'm going to take Trevor Lawrence and Swift all day, obviously, right? Mm-hmm. But it's tough for people to think that way. But I mean, if it's your team and you're QB needy, taking that 101 and trading back to gain that value is the move. You have to do that.
It's know your league. I mean, right now, like we were saying in the beginning of this process, hey, don't trade the 101 till you're on the clock. Now I'm arguing that it is like such a valuable piece. I'm putting it out there. I'm not trading it for, I saw a guy the other trade it for the 107 and 109. No, you need to be in that top 5 to get yourself Stroud, Young, Gibbs, JSN. If you can get 2 of those guys, I think it's a nice play. If you're talking later picks, I'm out on that. But I think you got to at least float Bijan out there and get an idea. I got another one sent in here from, I'm gonna have to pull this up. Cody Butler. He sent in, hey, Dynasty Dad, got a massive deal here and I need your help. Justin Jefferson or the 101, the 105, and what will be a top 3 24 first. You don't see a lot of Justin Jefferson trades. We have a bunch of them on this podcast. But, I mean, Mike, this one's a smash except for me. If you're getting the 101, the 105, and a potential top 3, it's hard to move off of Justin Jefferson. But when we talk about this and you're getting Bijan, you're getting either JSN or Gibbs, and then you're getting a potentially top 3 pick next year, and we know those are going to be absolute fire as well.
Yeah, it's definitely the pick side. You're right. I don't see a lot of trades with Jefferson where I would handedly go with the other side. But if it is truly a top 3 24 first, it's got to be the pick side. I take that top 3 pick thing with a grain of salt, because there's no guarantees a year out from now.
And
or even
he sent the rest of his team in. I mean, his quarterbacks, Joe Burrow and Dak. He does not have an RB1. His RB2 is Rashad White. He has CeeDee Lamb, DJ Moore. He's got a nice little nucleus there where CeeDee Lamb can easily jump into his wide receiver 1 spot. I know you love him. I love him. This is a spot where Justin Jefferson, we just talked about, is a tough guy to try to sell. But I mean, if you get that shot to get the 101, the 105, and a 24 first, and I did say the same thing as Mike, like, hey, as long as this is top 3 to 5, you're not talking a random 24 first, because then it's close for the 101 and the 105. But I think this first, you want to make sure it's at least mid.
I mean, yeah, it's a smash accept, and I'm not sure I'm even, that close with you guys, because it could be the 112 in 2024, and I would still make that deal.
Oh, all right. So, hey, we got the next one here, and this one's sent in from Fantasy Pollster. Mung, he tagged you, he tagged me, and he even put Trey Lance's middle name as Bay. So we got Trey Bay Lance or the 109. Man, like, is this 10-team Superflex? So I know that lessens the value of the quarterback a little bit. But, I mean, the 109, like, man, I know it's a smash except to take Trey Lance. How high are we willing to buy in on Trey Lance right now? I mean, what rookie pick, if someone came to you, would be that one where you're okay? That's like that threshold of, I'll pay this, but I won't pay that.
Yeah, I think I replied to the tweet where I have Lance just above, Young and Stroud. So, that 1.02 plus a second. And pretty much I'm just holding Lance in the leagues where I have him, because no one's really willing to pay that much, right?
No.
Because his value is depressed. But to me, there's just not that much more security if you're taking Young or Stroud. wherever they end up. I doubt it'll be with a head coach as good as Kyle Shanahan or with a bevy of receiving weapons like the Niners have. So I just don't know what you're really expecting unless you're so certain in your own, quarterback film study that these guys are going to succeed, whereas Lance won't, because again, to me, there's not a whole lot of difference between him and those two other guys in this quarterback class. And whereas he is still set up to succeed more.
Mike, we're looking at right now probably market value on Trey Lance, 105, 106 range. Is this, and he's just, when you and I did that first startup in Smash 7, he was going 108 range. So he is moving his way up there. If I came to you, same question, like what's the max that you'd pay and right now based off of market value, and what's the, what are we looking to do? Are you looking to buy or sell in that range?
Yeah, I would buy with the 105. I think that's probably the highest I'm willing to go right now, and I'm a big Trey Lance guy, and it's not because I don't believe he's as good as Stroud or Young or has that ability to exceed the value of those players. I just think right now he's not there, so I wouldn't pay more than what he's currently valued at. But I am buying him where I can buy him.
It's tough right now. Like I feel like he's a nice insulated type move, right? Like I feel like you could scale down if you really believe you could scale down off of Lawrence or down off of Fields. I think you can get plus off some of those big guys. For me, I might try to scale up. I think maybe you could get a top 3 pick on top of Lance for Herbert for sure, and then you get 2 shots in that area. But I think we're in an area where he's a nice insulated value. But the tricky part is like another trade sent him from Leona Reese. He has Lance, so he's trying to buy Purdy. He gave up Derrick Henry and the 212 for Brock Purdy and the 204. So like there you're almost giving up Derrick Henry for Brock Purdy. So many people out there. I mean, what do we do with Brock Purdy then? Because I'm with Mung. I mean, I believe Lance is going to be that starter. I was shocked to see this because for me, I've been trying to sell my Purdy shares and it's been difficult.
Yeah, I would never trade Derrick Henry for Brock Purdy. The
204, 212. I know we said how juicy it is, but like not that juicy. I was like, please don't
Purdy's
do this.
Not there for me. I mean, he's going to be a great backup. He definitely showed that he belongs in the league. I don't think that he's going to ever be the starter unless there's an injury or something goes insanely wrong with Trey Lance. But, I would not pay more than a very late second for Brock Purdy right now. I wouldn't buy. I probably want to sell if I can, but.
Good. I like it. Another trade sent in from Tomer. His name is @Shimshon89. Mung, I'm going to come to you first, and I just want you to say pick or the player for a smash here on the first one. Jacoby Myers or the 212?
Oh, smash Jacoby Myers.
Thank you.
Whether he stays in New England or goes elsewhere, I think he's going to continue to see plenty of target volume.
This feels like Christian Kirk 2.0, right? He's going to get a bag. He's going to go somewhere after some decent production. So, I mean, I like that a lot. Mike, 108 or Michael Pittman?
I'll take the 108.
Yeah, I agree. It feels like Pittman's worth the 109, though, right? Like, it's kind of close, like 109, 110. I think Pittman gets a perceived bump here pretty soon once they get a quarterback, because he can't get worse quarterback play, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Another one sent in from Arizona Bryce T. I like that name. We're looking at side 1 gets Jamar Chase. Side 2, Devonta Smith, Jahan Dotson, 108, 109. Nerd Boy, hit me up here because I helped him work through this one. The original one on the Devonta side was actually Amari Cooper. He was able to get Devonta in there. So Devonta, 108, 109, Jahan Dotson, Cole Kmet, or Jamar Chase in a 12-team Superflex. These are studs. Like our listeners, our guys in the Patreon, guys, people are dealing studs right now, and it blows my mind.
Yeah. That's very close for me because 108, 109, Devonta. I love what I saw from the Slim Reaper at the end of the season, and I think AJ Brown and him are going to alternate one days. Where we're going to see him put up the numbers, and then AJ Brown's going to follow that up next game, and then Dotson I think has a pretty good chance of being the one over Terry, to be honest. I know they paid him, but just his skill set is, he can easily be a yak machine. I think.
We talk about 4 quarters aren't worth $1, but I mean, Devonta Smith is a 50-cent piece. You get a quarter in the 108, a quarter in the 109, a quarter for Dotson, a quarter for Komet. If you could start them all, I was saying go for it.
In my mind, it's 3 firsts and an early second for Chase, and that's exactly what I would probably need to sell him.
Yeah, and I was like, when he came to me with Amari Cooper, I said, I can't do it. Like, I don't want Amari Cooper in that situation. Mung, is this enough for you to move Chase? We're talking about moving studs here, but you're looking at 3+ firsts for Chase and some insulation of guys that we know that can compete. I know you like Dotson. We love Smith. It feels like a nice move for me.
Yeah, and I think part of the thing here is Chase on a talent level is pretty close to Justin Jefferson.
Yes.
But from a fantasy standpoint, if you look at Justin Jefferson's points per game, I mean, they're far more consistent, and he hits far higher ceilings, which Chase does hit as well. But at the end of the day, very few wide receivers are worth pretty much 4 firsts in value here is what I would call it. And I would take that, especially with, obviously you would prefer the first to be a little bit higher, but in Superflex, the 1.8 and 1.9, you're still getting solid running backs, quarterbacks, and wide receivers at that point in the draft this year. So I think I would sell Chase for that. And we talked, I think, maybe a couple weeks ago on the last show that I am pretty high on Dotson as well.
Yep, I love that. This one, another blockbuster sent in from Dynasty Trade Analyzer, another guy always active in the community and sending things in. 12 teams, Superflex, tight end premium. Well, I'm going to start with you on this one, Nerd Boy, because it's got one of your boys in there. But he sent Kenneth Walker, DJ Moore, Greg Dulcich, Cole Kmet in a 24-second. He received Kyle Pitts in the 103.
All right. Hit me with that package again. Right. We're talking Dolch.
The package side is winning on Twitter right now, 58-42. He sent Kenneth Walker, DJ Moore, Komet, Dulcich, and a late 24-second for Pitts in the 103 in a tight end premium.
Yeah, so I think the 103 and Walker kind of, eliminate each other.
So right now, the 3's a little above Walker, but you're right. Those guys almost maybe the 3. Yeah, that kind of negates that off. So then you get down to DJ Moore, Dulcich, Komet, and a second for Pitts. And I'm kind of like, I don't own any Pitts. I know we were selling, but I'm kind of low key buying. I mean, that feels pretty nice.
Yeah, I just took him in a startup, I think in the 4th round, so I couldn't pass that up. But you're getting what you think is the sure thing in Pitts, where Dolch is definitely somebody I'm buying right now too. I love him in that offense. I don't know. It's tough for me. DJ Moore, I'm ready to call it quits on him.
I have. That's why I'm taking this one. I'm taking the Pitt side.
I think it's fair. I think I probably would take Pitts because, I don't want I don't want to free all those roster spots. I think that's really what it comes down to. I don't want all those players in one trade. That just seems like I'm moving one player for 5 players, and it's not gonna. I don't know. I'll just take Pitts for that reason, I guess.
Yeah, it's tough when you do. I mean, you got to look at like you said, the roster spots you give up. I mean, sometimes a 3-for-1 isn't necessarily a great deal. Mung, if they come to you and you're like, Walker, Moore, Dolcic, Komet, second, that's a lot of names, or Pitts in the 103. Also knowing what you can do maybe to move that 103 to another QB needy team. I mean, I think if he has his quarterbacks in place, that 103 could be gold as well.
Yeah, and I do think, Walker and the 103 are fairly close in value. But to me, this comes down to Pitts versus Moore and, some ancillary pieces. I'm not crazy high on Dolcic, Komet. And then obviously the second is a nice piece, but again, that's another year out as well. And, as you said, I don't know that I'm out on Moore because I think he's definitely flashed talent. But I don't think he's much of a red zone threat. I mean, we've seen the lack of touchdowns throughout his seasons in the NFL so far. So he's really going to have to rely on volume and almost be, kind of like Keenan Allen type where he gets 150 targets, plus to really get that kind of production that you're trying to get. So yeah, I would lean the Pitts and the 103 side here as well.
We've been asking for DJ Moore to get a quarterback. I mean, can we get CJ Stroud in Carolina?
This is
and
the
protect
year.
him?
Gonna happen.
I mean, he's 25. Here's the thing. Sometimes though, is like a guy like that. No matter what he does this season, unless he's top 5, the value's not going to change much just because of the perception of where he is. And sometimes you can use that to your advantage. Like a guy I was talking about the other day with Daniel Jones is, he asked me why I have CJ Stroud and Bryce Young over Daniel Jones. I'm like, he's never going to be worth the 102. He could be the QB 8 again this year, and because of his first 2 seasons, there's 0% chance he'll be worth more than the 102. Coming up. Use that to your. What's that?
I made a spicy one the other day. I did the 103 for Daniel Jones and the 108. Actually. Okay.
Yeah, but you're not going to give him up for that 103. Like, that's where people were coming at me. Like, there's a disconnect there between, I did my rankings. I had the QB 12 and 13 as that 102, 103. And then there's Tua, Daniel Jones, and Cousins, where you almost feel like they fall all the way back to, what, 1-8? Like, how what's the highest that you would pay for? I mean, Tua might be like 105, 106. But the rest of them there, it really falls back that way where we're not paying up.
Yeah, I don't think I would ever pay a 108 for Cousins or Daniel Jones.
Right.
I think they're closer to the 112 range with Goff and even Pickett in
totally
that
agree.
area.
So the next one sent in from Tom Barkley. That's at top weight Tom. Building from the floor up, he put 12-team Superflex. Now this one, it's a lot to digest. So it's the 103, the 203, the 303. The guy just said, just take all my picks. The 310, the 24-second, or the 107, the 109, the 202, and the 212. So let's look at the difference between the 103 and the 107. For me, is pretty large. I think we're talking. It's a decent sized gap. So if you had to choose right now today, Mike, the 103, the 203, or the 107 and the 109, out of just that core part of this, what are you taking?
103.
Yeah, I would too, and that's why I find this one. Then the rest of it's the 202, the 212, or the 303, 310, and 24-second. And there's not a huge difference there. I mean, like for me, I want the 202, but it's not so much that I want to give up that quarterback.
I'm not selling these picks for other picks right now. I'll sell these picks for an established player right now. I'll sell them for, like I did, like a Daniel Jones in the 108 for the 103. I'll do something like that, but I'm not going to tear down right now.
This feels like one of those cheap startup moves, where that guy doesn't want to fully commit. So he's like, I move up 2 spots here, 2 spots there, move around. This is one I think I want the 103, and I think you're going to be able to extrapolate more value on that one. We have a lot to go through here yet, so I'm going to keep going. Mung, Kyler Murray, this one's sent in from at High T Denny. Kyler Murray or Russell Wilson and a random 24 first?
Oh, I would smash Kyler Murray.
Yes. Originally,
this one was a whole lot to talk about here.
This one was a 24-second originally, but Twitter has this really close. I mean, they have it at 57-43, Mung, and I was like, I was dumbfounded by that. I mean, this just screams go buy Kyler Murray if you can make that kind of paying a 24 first to literally cut off 8 years of age and have a lot more upside seems like an absolute smash.
Yeah, I think maybe Russell Wilson's value really rebounded with a couple nice games towards the end of the season, and then also with Sean Payton coming, right? I think that's really what has bolstered his value in the last couple of weeks. But I mean, he's still, mid 30s. We'll see what ends up happening with Payton's offense that he decides to implement in Denver. But yeah, I mean, Kyler Murray's still so young, and he's basically prime Russell Wilson, right? With all the rushing production that you get from him, and that's what you want.
Yeah, I mean, I know when we were debating a little bit in the Patreon, Kyler Murray versus the 102, 103, I have since moved Kyler above that, because there was it looks like he is, 6 weeks post-surgery. You see him on the bike, you see him starting to work out, and Nerd Boy, if you can get Kyler Murray for what would perceive to be a mid to late 24 second and Russell Wilson, I feel like that's a move that you got to hit every single time.
Yeah, absolutely. They're not even close in value for me, at least. I like Russ for this year. I think he's going to be a good bounce back candidate, especially with what Mung was saying with Peyton coming in, and just that coaching change alone is probably going to do wonders for him. Because I don't think he was used correctly, or they weren't really doing the Russ offense. They were making him do something that was completely uncomfortable for him, and you can see that on the field. There was a lot of frustration. So, but it's not even close, What
are you paying for Russ? Because, I got him in Smash 1 for the 112. I think if you can get a late first, maybe 110 to 112 range, or a 24 first that feels mid-ish, I can buy for that.
Yeah, I would absolutely buy him for a 112. I would probably buy him for the 108.
Okay, wow. All right. So, if you guys can get it.
Monks,
I think we were looking at Russell Wilson as a guy that probably could be a back-end QB1 this year. Mung, if people are asking you that question, what are you willing to pay when it comes to Russell Wilson as well?
Yeah, I think in that 1.9 to 112-ish range is about right. But just jumping back real quick to what you guys were talking about previously, I would have Cousins and Daniel Jones significantly higher than the Russell Wilson, Jared Goff, Geno Smith type of tier. So I think if you can, I love that trade, the 103 for the Daniel Jones plus the 108, because I think
beautiful.
He could outproduce Stroud and Young for the foreseeable future, but his value's nowhere near that. You don't need to pay that kind of premium for Daniel Jones, even though his rushing production was, close to on par with Lamar Jackson in points per game. He's a white dude, but he's fast, man.
I think it's nice there because you have so many different options at the 108. If Daniel Jones is your second quarterback or even your third quarterback with an aging guy, and you take Anthony Richardson at 1.8, who has tremendous upside, and if he pans out, you win that trade huge. You have Jordan Addison falls into that area. I think that was a definite win. Another trade sent in from Trust Your Board podcast. It said 12-team. One quarterback. So I think everybody has to pay attention to that when you see it. When it's Superflex versus one quarterback, this year is a little bit different. Cooper Kupp or Alec Pierce, the 202 and a 24 first. Mung, we'll start with you on that one. I'm getting a lot of Kupp questions right now. People are wanting to go out there and buy Cooper Kupp, and I think 1.8 range I think is a great deal, maybe 1.6, but I'm not willing to pay that. Are you willing to pay Alec Pierce 202 and a 24 first? Twitter has it really close.
I think that's about right for Cooper Kupp. I'm not an Alec Pierce believer.
I almost said that 3 times. I had to say it over in my head.
Yeah, I try to get players' names right because at the end of the day, details matter. But I think it's a fine move if you're contending because I do expect, with Sean McVay committing to returning to the Rams and Stafford hopefully healthy for the start of training camp after that neck injury derailed his season. I think both Kupp and Stafford are bounce back candidates. And if you have a strong contending roster, and especially in one quarterback too, right? That devalues the 202 slightly because you're not propping up all those quarterbacks into the first round in Superflex. So I think I would lean Cup, but overall it's pretty fair.
Mike, when I'm sure you're getting that question a lot too. Is like people are starting to think about points again, where everyone else is selling rookie picks. What's that line for you of like if you have Cooper Kupp, what's the lowest you'd sell him for? And then if you're buying Cooper Kupp, because I think I get this question a lot and people don't seem to understand, Mike, is there is a buying price and there is a selling price. And just because we talk about dynasty market value on Smash or Pass, it's not the same thing. You know, like buying a player, this is what I'd buy him for, but this is what I'd sell him for. You know, it's just like you're going out there buying a car, you're going out there and buying something, you're doing it for a profit. You know, you're not trying to buy it for the same thing you're selling it as.
Yeah. Yeah. So, like you said, it's different buying and selling, and you know, selling Cup, I would try to do an insulated deal where I am getting a younger, you know, somebody that's a little farther back,
like Jerry Jeudy,
value, a Jeudy, and even a second. I would probably deal similar to what, you know, I think it was Sam got Amon for. You know, I think you could probably get a Cup for that too, Jeudy in the second, or that's something that I would definitely deal Cup for, because I think he goes in the third or fourth round of startup still, so he's still got a good amount of value. And if I'm moving off of Cup, I would try to, if I'm buying Cup, I don't mind that deal that you just mentioned where it's Alec and the 24 first. I think I would try to shoot, depending on that roster, if they're aging out or if Cup just doesn't fit that roster anymore. I would probably throw over like a Dotson, and maybe a pick swap there where there's a 23 second on Dotson and a 23 third on Cup, or, you know, something along those lines. But I don't know. I'm trying to think of what I bought Cup for. I bought Cup for the 111 actually not that long ago.
That's a steal.
That felt great for me.
Yeah. I want to talk about the point you just made there is I'm negotiating a deal right now where someone wants Jalen Hurts off my team, you know, and I'm not trading Jalen Hurts without an overpay. And what I'm trying to do in those scenarios is I'm trying to move Dalvin Cook to get a younger player, like you were talking about there about moving Jahan Dotson to get another piece. For me, if I'm on the other side, I'm trying to move a Dalvin Cook for a guy slightly in that maybe a little bit above, like in this particular situation. I was like, yo, if I give you Dalvin, you give me Ramondre, win-win. I take my running back, you get a little bit younger, you go win the title. You know what I mean? I think that kind of negotiation is the best way. Everyone's asking me, how do I get rid of Cook? How do I get rid of, you know, Fournette? How do I get rid of, you know, the Mixons? And you got to get creative. And I was talking about it with Zoltan. We were on the phone the other day for about 20 minutes, and we were discussing some of these things. And it's just like you got to almost disguise it, right? Like you got to almost find a way to get creative to make it look good for the other guy because you're trying to move out. Mung, I just saw a juicy one, and I got to cover it. I got it. 10-team super flex sent in from Dale's Dead Bugs. Mahomes or Jamar Chase, Daniel Jones in the 103. This like literally hits us all in the feels buttons with Chase, with Daniel Jones, who we're all buying, the 103, which we were just talking about, and Mahomes. So it's a 10-teamer, Mung. You got to have your studs. What are we doing here?
Oof.
Twitter has it 51-49, so they're not helping you out.
Yeah, I don't know that there's a wrong answer here, but, you know, like you said, 10 teams, you do need your studs. And while Chase is most definitely an elite player in Superflex, I mean, as much as I love Daniel Jones, you might get some down weeks here and there from him. Mahomes, you have that insane floor and insane ceiling. And it's hard to ever trade away Mahomes unless you feel like it's a clear overpay. And while this one is very fair, I would still take Mahomes.
Nerd Boy, same thing. A guy comes to you, you like Jones. You might at the 3 you get Stroud or Young, and you get Chase. I mean, you know, there's a lot of things to play there, but in a vacuum, which value do you like more?
Yeah, I wanted to cop out until you said it in the vacuum.
I know you like to. We talk about the values so much here, right? Like the market values, and I feel like we're going up and down. But I'm like, in a vacuum, which way do you lean?
In a vacuum, I would take the package because of just it's just all that value. You could plug Daniel Jones in there with his rushing upside. You're going to give up some points from Mahomes, but it's not going to be as significant as you think it is. If they get to that consistent flow and they get another pass catcher, like I think they're going to do this year, and then Chase is going to make that up for you pretty easily. But you take that 103, you either take Stroud or you can easily turn that into another piece. In a 10 team, you could trade that for another top tier wide receiver. It's just there's too much value, and I love Mahomes. I agree that you need studs, but you can turn that into a crazy package.
As the 103, I mean, you're right in that area where and you can have anybody. I mean, you could Garrett Wilson, you can have anybody you want outside of Chase, Jefferson, Lamb. You might even be able to get Waddle there or AJ Brown in the right situation if that guy needs a quarterback. But I value both of them over that 103. But that's kind of in that area. Mung, I got one more here. I lied. I didn't have one more. This is the last one because I just saw a Superflex trade go down. Joe Burrow for Kyler Murray and Deshaun Watson. And Twitter has it almost dead even.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's just pure recency bias of a down few games back after not playing for 2 years for Deshaun Watson, and then just the injury for Kyler Murray because he was very productive, especially in fantasy prior to that injury. And like I said, I put Joe Burrow into my top tier of quarterbacks at this point, just behind Hurts at 4. But this is a smash for me for Kyler Murray and Deshaun Watson.
And Nerd Boy, I can't unhear Patrick Mahomes' dad saying, smoking that Joe Burrow. But are you going with the Joe Burrow? Or you can't turn down the two quarterbacks here, can you?
You can't. No, it's crazy because Twitter, I don't trust you, Twitter. I think you're
There's
crazy.
Some trolls out there.
I don't trust Twitter because of the hate that Kyler Murray gets, and people are –
but I'm having trouble selling him. I went to a guy who's in a complete rebuild, and I said, hey, I got Kyler Murray. I'm potentially because I have Josh Allen and Trey Lance. I was like, what do you want? He's like, I wouldn't give you anything above the 110. I'm like, well, we're done. I've been trying to float him, and I feel like there's unnecessary and unwanted hate on Kyler Murray where I've gone full circle where I said I was trading him. Now I'm buying him because the values I'm seeing are just absurd.
So he's looked at as like an add-on in this trade, because it's like almost like Burrow for Watson and Kyler Murray,
It's like an instant super flex.
Like he's like a 23-second or something. Yeah. It's like, dude, that's a smash. You got to smash that. That's crazy.
You're looking at like that's my QB 5 versus my QB 10 and 11. You're just boom, get it done. So this was fun, guys. This is back to the core of it. Mung, I know you got some things going on, so let's wrap it up here and let everybody know, obviously where they can find you and what you're working on right now.
Yeah, for sure. You guys can find me on Twitter at FFA_Mung. That's MENG. And I will be coming out with updated off-season dynasty rankings, both Superflex and one quarterback in the next week or two. So make sure you watch for that drop.
And Mike, I go back and forth. Sometimes I call you Nerd Boy. I don't think I've ever called you Mike, like not on the show. So, we'll iron it down one way or the other. But why don't you tell everybody where they can find you?
Different name every time. You never know what's going to happen here.
I know we can't have too many mics on here. If there's another mic, 3 mics is. I had someone the other day be like, "Hey, good show." They were like, "Good show" the other day, Mike, and I'm like, "Who you calling Mike?" I'm Dad.
Yeah.
What is
that?
Not to be
throw
confused.
Your government names out in the DMs. I don't want the government names.
Not to be confused with the burner account Dynasty Dad, who's out here giving bad advice.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Nerdboy Takes, and I am currently updating my rookie draft picks as far as rookie rankings go. I'm also releasing. Rookie analyst videos as far as I'm going to go into their tape and I'm going to really do a deep dive into several of the rookies in this class. And I'm just releasing that specifically to the Discord. So if you're interested in a deep dive of the rookie class, definitely come on and join the Smash Discord, so that you can kind of take a look at that and, you know, really get a closer look as far as the tape goes and what you're going to expect as far as what you can see from them the first year coming in the league.
That's awesome, man. I'm looking forward to that. And I know, you know, guys, $3 a month gets you in the Discord where I'm putting all my rankings, everything I'm doing. Mung's doing it, Mike's doing it, John's doing it, and everybody's starting to really catch on. And you have access to us at all times. I mean, honestly, I'm surprised at how quick, like, everybody is just on top of it. So, guys, check that out. You know, Smash Accept, we're always like saying, it's always enjoy the process. This one was sent in from Leo Val from Smash 7. He said, maybe for a closing, you know, there was a quote. He said, remember when it comes to Dynasty market value, price is what you pay, but value is what you get. So thanks again, guys, for tuning in. I still got to say, enjoy the process. We'll figure it out, you know.
Yeah.
We need a closing line.